2022. So we'll call the order. Okay. Good evening and welcome to Lincoln County Courthouse. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This meeting of the Lincoln County Planning Commission will begin with a few introductory remarks. This meeting is being streamed live, and when adjourned and posted, it will be available at any time at lincolncountysd.gov. The order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff findings. The applicant will then be asked to explain the proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the County Planning Commission. I will then open the floor to public comment, first to persons in support of the application and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you stepped up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. Lastly, decisions on changes of zones and zoning ordinance text amendments will be scheduled for an additional public hearing during an upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting. The decisions on conditional use permit applications may be appealed to the Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. Thank you for your cooperation. A quorum of the Planning Commission is present. The Planning Commission will now approve the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections? Mr. Brown. You guys see anything that needs to be corrected?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 18th.
Okay.
Second, Green.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. Planning Commission will next approve the meeting agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda that anybody has? Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Green.
Second, Sweeter.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, agenda passes. Our next item will be public input on non-agenda items. So if anybody out there has anything that they'd like to speak about that is not on the agenda, now is the time to come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the floor to public input on non-agenda items, and we'll start with our first item, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. As was mentioned, this item before you, this application is a conditional use for a public utility facility, specifically a meter building. Subject property is just a little bit north of the intersection of 468th and 270th Street. It's just a little bit north of the City of T corporate limits. Subject property is zoned A1 agricultural, as you can see, as all adjacent surrounding properties. Subject property is undeveloped. It's utilized for agricultural purposes. These are some shots that were taken of the property. Essentially right now there's a cornfield. So the applicant, Lincoln County Rural Water System, through its manager, submitted an application to our department to construct a building approximately 384 square feet in size. This will be utilized as a meter building for the water system. So as you're aware, there are 2 types of utilities within the zoning regulations. The one would be a neighborhood utility facility, and the second would be a public utility facility. A little bit of a misnomer there is that they're utilized for both private and public utilities. So it's not just public utility facility specifically. The difference between the two is if there's a building that's over 120 square feet, it does require it that move to a public utility facility through a conditional use permit. So as I mentioned, the applicant is proposing to construct a 384 square foot building on the site as a meter building for their water system. So as far as the staff analysis, staff did look at the property, did do site visits, take a look at the overall look at the overall area of the property. identified that this is within a predominantly agricultural zoned area. There is a residential structure directly to the south, but we'll address that in a little bit. This is, as mentioned, a conditional use method is allowed within the A1 agricultural zoning district. The county's comprehensive plan identifies this as a planned growth area. This area is just outside of the City of T's subdivision authority, but staff did work with the City of T as there is some transition going on with some of that growth area. Identified that there is scattered single-family dwellings within the area, but as mentioned, they're all zoned A1 agricultural. There are no specific performance standards for public utility facilities or neighborhood utility facilities as far as setbacks from structures or those types of things. The new comprehensive plan really identifies that these be placed in appropriate areas. In discussing with the applicant can discuss that a little bit more. This site was picked out for the need for it within the area for their water service delivery. So staff did really concur that this is an appropriate location since there are no performance standards and it was identified as a needed area with the water system. So staff did post the property. The applicant did send notification within 500 feet of the property. As of this meeting, staff has received no comments regarding this proposed application. So staff does feel that this application is consistent with the requirements of the zoning regulations. Do recommend approval of this conditional use permit with the 5 conditions that were listed in the staff report. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair, and answer any questions that the board has for staff at this time.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Brown? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll now ask the applicant to come forward and state your name and address and tell us what you want to do.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come and speak with you. My name is Robin Dykstra. I'm the manager at Lincoln County Rural Water System. Our office is at 27066 Henry Place, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Okay.
And I can explain items about why we're doing this and why we picked this location. To get a connection to Lewis and Clark, you have to go from a air release vault that they may have. Excuse me. In this case, the air release vault is directly south where this building is, right along 270th Street. We purchased this land from Mr. Jeff Ulrich 4 or 5 years ago with this intention behind it. And the building will be a 16 by 24 inch meter building. It'll have a 12-inch water main going to it from the Lewis and Clark vault. It'll have another 12-inch water main coming out of it. That'll go back towards 270th and then go west to 467th Avenue. At that point, we'll go north and south. And this is to help our system with growth in the area. Plus, because the interchange that's being built at 85th Street and I-29, we have agreed with the City of Sioux Falls that we will abandon our pipeline that goes across the interstate. And they have worked with us towards helping us with some of the finances for this meter building instead of replacing that water line that would be in their way. The one structure that Toby was talking about is that house to the south and east of where our planned building is going to be at. And you probably have these plans also, but again, it's a 16 by 25 foot building. A little taller, I think it's 10-foot sidewalls. And that is so that it's all the bigger we needed to get the piping apparatus inside, meters, that type of deal. The colors that we chose for this building are to match as close as we could to the neighbor that's going to be to the south and east. We didn't want it to stand out, look like a grain bin or something, although I was preferring a grain bin myself to be out there. I thought that would look good. What's out there now is crop. The tenant did remove some of the crop for us. I'm standing about where the building would be, and there you can see that house to the south and east of where our meter building will be. That's a shot of the corn still not picked. It was a little wet when he picked it. That's another shot showing the neighbor's backside of his building. And that, again, was another shot showing the better colors to show what we were trying to do to match up to what he had. We're trying to be good neighbors with Mr. DeRuiter, and we're hoping that we can continue to be good neighbors with him. One thing I wanted to point out, there are volunteer trees that are coming, along this area here, that in time, he won't even see our building unless those trees are taken out. That's really all I have for why we're doing it and what we're doing. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Very good. Any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if I saw it in the staff report, but do you have planned like fencing or anything that will be around, or will it just be a building just out in the middle of nowhere?
At this time, it's just going to be a building out in the middle. We are, in the future, planning to probably put chain link fencing up around it,
Okay,
just for security reasons.
right.
Since it is a water structure, security is a concern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So at this time, anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the application, please come forward. We will, see none, we will close the floor to people in favor. Now, anybody that is in opposition to the application, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the floor to public comment. Entertain a motion of approval, and
I'll make the motion to approve with the 5 conditions listed in the staff report.
Okay.
Second, Boots.
all right, it's been moved, properly seconded. Discussion.
I'll start. I appreciate the, everything that they've done to try to blend in, at least with the neighboring properties, be good neighbors. It's, I would think that if the neighbor had that big of a problem with anything, that they would either be here or provide a letter to Toby. So I'll be in support of the application tonight. Appreciate what you guys are doing for Lincoln County.
Very good. Anyone else? Marlene? No? Okay, yeah, just in closing, I agree with Commissioner Green. I appreciate the extra effort, even though maybe you didn't have to. It's probably why there's absolutely no opposition here, so good luck, and I will also be in favor. So we'll call the roll. Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Boots?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott is also a yes. Thank you. Mr. Brown, on to item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this next item is a conditional use permit for an oversized warehouse building. So the subject property is a little north of an intersection of 271st Street, which is County Highway 106, and Thomas Avenue. Subject property is zoned I-1 Light Industrial, as is all surrounding properties. The city limits of the city of T are adjacent to this property to the south. Property is currently developed with it's a 12,000 square foot condo warehouse building. And so the applicant has, and that'd be looking on to the one to the west would be looking onto the site of the property there. So the applicant did submit an application to construct a 10,500 square foot building on the property in the I-1 Light Industrial District, as was previously mentioned. Warehousing is allowed up to 20,000 square feet, and then a conditional use permit would be required. And so that is the purpose of this application this evening. So with that application, this is within the planned growth area, the city of T. The applicant has been working with the city of T on the site plan approval. As you're aware, the city of T does require site plan approval outside of their city limits within their subdivision authority. All of those items have been checked off, though. The city of T is accepting of the applications presented before us. There is fencing on the property, as well as with this approved conditional use permit, there will be some landscaping placed in the property as well. And so with that, staff did review this application, did look at the existing surrounding area and the proposed development area. Again, this is mentioned, this is an established industrial park within the area, the Southwest Industrial Park. The area surrounding it, the developed properties have similar type uses, warehousing type uses. The other point that I would make is that since this is zoned I-1 light industrial, properties would be allowed to do light manufacturing on the property. So this is a less intensive use than what is allowed or permissive use within that zoning district. But this particular building should be similar to what's uses and size that's occurring within the surrounding properties with it. So again, as I mentioned, the applicant and staff did work with the city of T. Their approval of the site plan really got us to this point. So with the 5 conditions that were placed on there, it's really in compliance with what they're requiring as far as site plan, or the site plan requirements, without really adopting their site plan. So we did post the property. The applicant did send notification of the public hearing within 500 feet. As of this time, staff has received no comments regarding this proposed application. Staff does feel that this application is consistent with the standards for the conditional use permit, as well as the surrounding properties that are there. Staff does recommend approval with the 5 conditions that were listed in the staff report. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that staff, or that the board has for staff at this time.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Brown?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Green?
So the initial 12,000 square feet building that was on there, since it was under 20,000, that did not so there's no conditional use permit currently on the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with that then, based on these being storage type condo units, if one of the units, I don't know if they're gonna be for rent or for sale or how that works, if one of those units then, because we've had these issues with that area, wanted some other type of use in one of those units, then a conditional use permit to do something other than what is allowed inside light industrial would have to come back here for some level of approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then if something is approved in there, is that for the whole building or just for the unit? Or we work through that with the conditions? Is that how we've done that in the past, Toby?
Great question. So additional part that I'd make there too is that these will be sold. So they're condo owned. And I believe that there's covenants associated with it too that they enforce, I guess, so it's beyond us. But if any of the land, and again, they don't own the land, they just own the actual unit.
Right.
So if any unit holder wanted to do something other than warehousing within that unit, they would have to get a new conditional use permit for it. The difference between this one and typically ones that we've done is that this property is zoned I-1 light industrial, which is a little more restrictive on commercial activities than would be the commercial district and stuff like that. But yes, there is controls on it. At this time, the county is only approving those units to be for warehousing at this time. So
Thanks, Toby, appreciate it.
Mr. Brown, refresh me. Since they are gonna be sold, I guess one of the things I get hung up on then is, so we're approving a conditional use permit for a tract or a parcel that will currently be in the applicant's name, and it's a parcel that's whatever the size it is, it's got a number. If you go to selling those off, do you create new parcels?
So essentially what happens is they're sold off as condos. So it's, yes, there'll be new parcels, but the land will stay part of a common ownership.
How will it look on the GIS map when they're all sold? Will there be purple lines dividing all those?
Like we went to like rec storage or something similarly where they've sold them off?
Oh, I'm over too far. There we go.
Now, I know we've talked about this before, but I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Yeah, you'll
Process.
see, there's been some of the units in the existing
Okay.
building that have been sold, so it'll look like
So-
that essentially.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess what I struggle with just a little bit, and you're just gonna have to explain it to me again, is so like in that situation, so we approve the conditional use permit for the parcel, but then it gets subdivided, and then that conditional use permit just carries over with all that subdivision? Is that how it would work if, trying to think of a different example.
Because the conditional use permits just go over the 20,000 square feet.
Yeah,
So the conditional use will permit oversized warehousing on the property. So the property will stay in common ownership. There'll be a condo agreement that gets filed with registered deeds, but the ownership of the actual land will stay with the homeowners association or whatever that the applicant's established at this stage to go with it. But the actual unit, wall to wall is owned by someone other than but collectively, they all own the land through the
Yeah.
common ownership.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Do you think that's something that, as this, at least in my time, this seems to be kind of a new trend where we take these storage condos and then sell them and subdivide them type of deal? You think that's something we need to have a conversation about in the future? Or do you think the way we're doing it, do you think the way this is right? I'm just trying to think of things that could happen 10 years from now.
I mean, in all honesty, I think I mentioned this the last time we did one of these, is that it's actually easier to work with because I'm communicating with the condo association essentially.
Okay.
I'm not
Instead of
dealing with
each
individual
individual.
landowners. If there's any issues that the county has, we're gonna deal with the landowner, which is gonna be the collective
association.
agreement. Yeah,
And then they go deal with the individual.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess I'm just gonna have to trust you, and I still can't get my head wrapped around it, but, back to Mr. Green's, question. So then if somebody wants to, so if we approve this, it's limited to warehousing, correct? Basically, and if somebody wants to sell cars out of it, they're gonna have to come, and then they'll get a conditional use permit on this little subdivided parcel of the building? Or would it have to be the whole property again?
It depends when we get to that point, but, the new process we've been doing is we've been doing the entire property. This case though is that, we're really gonna be working with the condo association to make sure they're supportive of what is going on with an applicant.
How do you think that'll work?
That's up to them when we get to that point, I guess. So, but to me, I think it creates a layer though, that we're gonna make sure that everybody's supportive of what's gonna be going on there.
But I think that could get kinda, and I know that doesn't pertain, well, no, I guess it does kinda pertain to this, but that could get kinda weird if we're given conditional use permits to a piece of property that they don't own the land on, maybe. I don't know. And I wonder if, because of that, I think that as these are being sold, that should probably, by the owner, be, clearly stated to whoever's purchasing it that this might get a little muddy if you want to have a car dealership in it, I don't know. Or maybe it won't.
You know what?
It would, I mean, if it comes to that, it would for me just a little bit, I guess.
And really, this conversation is not one that staff has had with the applicant. So I'd really be more curious to see if within the covenants or within that, they're gonna prohibit that type of a thing.
Well, I guess we could ask him that.
So if that's the case, then really kind of a moot point. And all we're really doing
Right.
tonight is allowing the construction of a building that exceeds 20,000, or in some exceeds 20,000
Sure,
square feet.
but if we allow that and then it snowballs and 5 years from now or 2 years from now, we've got a problem, it's like, well, maybe we should ask more questions before, at the beginning, you know what I mean?
Well, the benefit that I see is, and I'll reverse a little bit, is that the majority of the conditional use permits that we issue in this area aren't to the owners anyways. They're to a tenant or a leasee or something like that. with this one, it'll be kind of beneficial because we're not gonna have to deal with individual neighbors collectively. They're gonna agree through their covenants or through their board whether or not they're gonna allow this to occur within there.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, so, but in this case, you know, from what we've seen from the existing, I'll start out by saying, you know, this is one in the area that we don't have any compliance issues with currently. I mean, it's, you know, it's met what the applicant said it was gonna
Yeah.
be. It's condo storage, and it's essentially people who own it that are just storing, vehicles or equipment in there,
Yep.
so. But I'll defer to that, and to answer your question is, yeah, that might be something we look at with future applicants to say, we're gonna need covenants that say you're only gonna allow warehousing within here.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if we approve this on the front side, if that just couldn't be part of the deal, is like, okay, if you wanna go to this condo type deal where you're selling off, you know, these units, know that you can't do it, that's all you're ever gonna get to do with it is warehousing.
Yeah.
Cause then it doesn't make for goofy things in the future, maybe. Just a suggestion, I don't know
Yeah,
what you guys
no,
think.
and we've known the applicant for a while, he's owned other property in the
Yeah.
county, so
And-
I'm
and
sure
I-
he's gonna maintain a strict property there.
Yeah, and I'm asking the question just because
Yeah.
it seems to be getting to be a ever more popular thing, and it seems new and
Yep.
we need to ask more questions probably.
Yep.
Yep, okay, very good.
Okay.
Any questions, any more questions?
Toby, with that, can you, not to give you a test, permitted uses under A1 light industrial? So, you know, because the conditional use permits for the size of the building, right? So, you know, I think part of this is the reality that since it is zoned A1 light industrial, there are things that are just automatically permitted uses that wouldn't come back here for conditional use permits, right? So, what would those be?
Yeah, so the I-1, I'll pull it up because I wanna make sure that we put in the record exactly what they would be, but.
I appreciate that.
So these types of permissive uses, now, well, as I mentioned previously, though, you'll notice that retail isn't a permissive use in here. So if it's a commercial zoning district, retail is a permissive use. So there really is that's a by right use, so we do have control issues there. But essentially, these would be the things that would be allowed as permitted condition, or permitted, special uses.
Which means they would, so for the permitted special uses, they would or would not have to come back to you to get a permit to operate under the 154.137s.
So-
I get the
Yeah.
permissive uses, but the permitted special uses, how did those work?
As long as they meet the standards that are prescribed within that particular use. But I would say they all have to come back to us. They would all have to get a zoning permit, and we would verify to make sure it's gonna meet the covenants or whatever type of thing because of the situation that we have here. Conditional uses would all come back before a public hearing of the board. And that would be all of these uses here.
Okay.
So I'm not saying there's not by right uses there, but that's why I'll defer to the applicant and whatever covenants they've established within the property.
Well, if that's what it's zoned and
Yep.
that's what it is, I mean, they can do those things for sure.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, we can't go against what it's already zoned. So, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Brown.
okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll ask the applicant to come forward, please. Just state your name and address and tell us a little bit about what you do, and thank you for your patience.
I'm Max Barnett, 1308 South Hyde Park in Sioux Falls. It was very interesting listening to all this. We have kind of a unique facility there. My son and I been talking about it for years, and Toby's pictures are better than mine, so I won't even get them out. But we started off figuring at least one building, and we were going to lease them to people, all underneath an association, and we were gonna be pretty restrictive on what uses we would allow. And one thing that has happened, because I see it was brought up several times here, is that we don't allow businesses to move in, we don't allow contractors, we don't want equipment parked outside, we don't want trailers or supplies or anything outside. Basically, what we have is high-end heated storage units for people with collector cars, collector anything. And then we included on one corner of the first building, a clubhouse. So basically, we're selling a club. We call it the BIP Club. And these people that were talking to us, they were always saying that your lease level is going to be too high. By the time we recoup our cost, our monthly rental charges and HOAs would have put it to the point where people kept telling us, if I could own one, I'd be interested, but I don't want to spend that kind of money to lease a unit. So we changed our whole outlook on it, but we did not change the association. We had lawyers help us draw up an association. I don't know exactly what the word's called, but it's a lengthy document telling what you can do with it and what you can't do with it, and you sign into it so that if 5 years from now, one of our guys, because some of them are my age or older, they might not be here in 5 years. If one of them dies and the estate wants to sell it, the estate's gonna be subject to the same regulations that we're putting on individuals when they buy into our complex. So the long and short of that was, when we built the first building, we kept it within the desired setbacks, but we moved it to the north side of the property so we would have room to build another one to the south side and keep it inside the fenced compound. And so we're at that point now where actually we're still in the hole on the first building. We'd like to get a second building because as we sell some of those units, we'll get our head above the water, although my son and I kept one of the units for ourselves, and we're all sharing the clubhouse. We have it's actually pretty cool if anybody ever wanted to look at it. We put $400,000 into a clubhouse with TVs and a kitchen and pool table and jukeboxes. We got everything in there. Basically a glorified man cave that every owner gets use of common space. They actually get physical title to their footprint, their building, plus they get use of all common spaces, which is the parking lot in front, the gate, the clubhouse, anything that's common use between all the owners. So that will extend over to this new building if you guys approve it. We're gonna put 7 more units in there, but we're not gonna do another clubhouse because from the utilization we're getting it, we can put 7 more owners in there and they can all share in the same clubhouse. It won't be a problem. We have a board up where they can reserve it for private uses or they can share it because we have a lot of pilots that are from the T airport. We have retired airline pilots. We have active airline pilots. We have a lawyer and a couple of doctors. I don't mean to be smug about it, but we are kind of a different, we're talked about as a storage facility, but we're actually more of a club where these guys can come down and put several $100,000 worth of car in the unit, and if they want to go down and watch a game on TV with a couple guys from down the line, that's what they do. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there so you understand what we're actually doing here. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Does anybody have any questions? That's something right. I appreciate the explanation because that makes a lot more sense. And the more I've sat and thought about it, to Mr. Brown's, to my questions, I guess as long as your organization has things in place that you allow and you don't allow, that really in reality, that's gonna govern everything in the end. And if somebody was to sell their unit to somebody else, they still have to fall under your rules, would be my guess.
Well, that's our guess.
What's the What's the question, or what's the timeline of your covenants? Like, what happens if you sell the property? Do the covenants go with it? Or maybe you
I'm
don't?
not, I'm a construction guy, so that's a lawyer question. We could not sell the property per se because we already have individual titles on 6 out of the 7 units in the first building, and there'll be 7 more. And those are individually titled and taxed by Lincoln County. Eventually, it'll be T and Lincoln County. But those units are actual, they're not subdivided. I don't know how
I
else to
think I
explain it. We're
understand,
not
yeah.
subdivided like as far as rural water goes. We have 1 meter pit for everybody, and the HOA
Basically.
umbrella is that, but. So I guess I don't really know we're never gonna sell the property. We might sell my unit if,
Yeah.
God forbid, I die next year.
Well, by the time you get all your units sold, you don't have anything else left to sell, basically, is what it amounts to. So I think what could happen then is then the HOA can change,
Right, through their board of directors.
through their
yeah.
board, they could, throughout the years, they could change the uses and what you allow people to do.
We, the way my son set it up with our lawyer was that we have, and maybe some of you guys know better than I do, we have like Class A stock, Class B stock. The class that we're in right now, until we sell out, we have 1 unit, we're dealing on the last unit in the first building, we're actually dealing on that. When that actually gets sold, those owners, I'm sorry, I keep bumping that. Those owners actually go into the next class, and that activates inside of our HOA, that activates a board election. Somebody gets elected as a director for that unit, for that building, and we'll do the same thing on the second building. We'll retain, we own the land, my son and I own, well, it's not up there now, but that's the south portion there where we want to put this building. We retain actual title to that land, and it'll be the same thing as in Building 1. When we get all those sold, all those people will become Class whatever B owners, and they'll have a say on the board, and any changes to the overall association have to be approved when you have a qualifying board. So we'll have a board for either building. And so that if somebody wanted to change it and say they wanted to put a welding shop in there, the guys on either side of them are gonna want a welding shop next to them. And so they'd have to go through the board to say, well, if I have to go down to Toby and get a conditional use to weld in this building, you're still gonna have to get it through your neighbors, and they're not gonna want it, because pure and simple, they're there for a reason, and it's the exclusivity of a common purpose of the building. So they can come down here and they can come through our electric gate, and the gate shuts, and I've got a guy down on the end there, I've got a Shelby Mustang, but he's got one that only has 15 miles on it. And that never comes out of the shed. That's in there, and they'll pull the cover up once and let you look at it, but that's as close as you
That's
get
about
to
it.
it, so,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. Okay, good. Anybody else have any questions? No. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Does anybody else want to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, we'll close the floor. Those in favor, and we'll open the floor to anybody in opposition. Assuming rural water is not in opposition. He likes Shelby Mustangs too, so I think we're good. We'll close the floor to public comment, and we'll entertain a motion of approval.
I'll make the motion. Green.
Second, Boots.
Okay, it's been moved, and with the 5 conditions, I'm assuming it's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? No?
Well, I think it's pretty well, Mr. Chair, I think it's pretty well explained out. And I think they kind of got all their ducks in a row to make sure it's kind of stays into what they're looking at, kind of a club for guys that got cars or whatever to kind of hang out. So I will be in support of.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys taking the time to explain it. You know, more, as I was just sitting here listening, and a lot of my original questions got answered, and actually, by the time this is over with, I kind of wonder if this isn't a really good way to govern these things, you know? It kind of lets the community govern itself before it even comes to the county level. So, yeah, it's interesting. And like I said, it's a trend, obviously. I think it's something we're gonna be confronted with quite a bit. So I think it's good that we start to understand the process. So, anything else? Okay, call the roll. Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes.
Commissioner Boots?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott is also a yes. Thank you, guys. So, okay, with that, seeing no old business, we'll move through that. We'll move on to new business, which is a planning commission briefing from Mr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just a summary of, since our last meeting, the Board of Commissioners did have a public hearing for the 9 Mile View Plan Development District. That was a Kurtenbach application, just adjacent, or I shouldn't say adjacent, but near Lake Elvin, for the rezone to allow those 3 additional single-family dwellings on the property. So the Board of Commissioners did concur with your recommendation, did approve that application. So that property has been rezoned to the 9 Mile View Plan Development District, as well as on September 23rd, which would be next week. The Board of Commissioners will conduct their public hearing for the changes zone for the Prairie Wind Trailers Plan Development District, which you also recommended approval of at your previous meeting. So that'll be at 6:30 p.m. here at the commission meeting room for the Board of Commissioners to public hearing on that particular plan development district. As well as, so I have mentioned to you that I did meet with staff and the Sioux Falls Planning Commission, did talk about essentially moving the regular joint planning commission meeting to just before our regular meeting. So you'll see probably in the next 2 months, we'll do the bylaws amendment for that, as well as the planning commission's bylaws. We'll also take a look at amending those to address some of the changes that are there, as well as some other changes that the committee wants to make as well too. What you'll also see probably starting in November is we're going to bring forward some what I'll call amendments to the zoning regulations. That's to reflect the changes in the new comprehensive plan, but also address some of the things that we've kept a list of, I guess, as far as some things that we've heard from the Planning Commission and the public as far as some changes they would like to see to the overall zoning regulations. So some work sessions coming up. Good work sessions, though, to kind of clarify some of the things that I know that the board and the public really share during the development of the comprehensive plan, to really address some of the rule changes, I guess, or the policy changes there too. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you and answer any questions that you have on those particular items. Otherwise, that's it for staff items.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Brown? Appreciate the updates. Those are useful. And so keep up the good work. It's one question I have is how's the new way of doing business, I guess, with that northern part of the county going? Is it seems like just a little bit we've seen so far that it's going pretty smooth. Is it making your life easier?
If it makes life easier, but I think that definitely the change of zones that we've been doing with the neighborhood meetings, I think that's been highly effective. And I think that it gets staff out into the field to work with the neighbors, answer questions. And I don't think anything that we've heard out there is anything that we wouldn't hear here. Mm-hmm. But that opportunity allows us to answer that question. Because I think sometimes the general public thinks that, a public hearing is they're going to get all the answers, and they typically don't. But us going out and meeting in the field with those individuals, we're able to better have a conversation, answer those questions that they have there. I do know that it's intensive on staff. We've got a number, so next month you've got 2 rezone applications to plan developments. You've also got 5 or 6 conditional use permit applications. So a lot of things are picking up and going with it. Eventually, with full staffing and, as we move forward, it would be nice to do the neighborhood meetings with conditional use permit applications as well too. And not so much as I think, the goal isn't to really change the neighborhood's opinion of the application, it's really to create a forum for staff to engage and work with them and answer a lot of questions. That's the number one thing that we've heard out with the public, or with the neighborhood meetings is, we really have questions, we're not really for or against these things, we just have questions. But, this really isn't a forum at these meetings to really do that or get into that dialogue, conversation with it and stuff like that. So I think it's been beneficial. I also think it's been beneficial that they're able to put a face to the name of the applicant. It's sad to say, but that's kind of a lot of the problems is that, we always talk about being good neighbors and stuff like that. It's just timing and busyness and everything. And as, just approaching neighbors isn't what we currently do anymore. And so I think it's a good opportunity for that too. I haven't walked away from one yet where I've really felt that it wasn't beneficial, because I think everybody, including the neighbor and especially the applicants, always walked away. It was really good to meet the neighbors and to talk to them and really share. And I'd also say that every single one that we've done, we've walked away with changes to the application, as far as screening or as far as, kind of adjustments to the siting and things like that. And I think it's been highly beneficial that way. But again, to move it on to the conditional use permits is going to be intensive, because we've got a lot of those going on. But definitely it's something that we should work towards to do, but, so.
Amazing what happens when people talk. But do you see then, that would just be my other question. Do you see, do you see an increase in applications for these planned developments and that up there?
Yeah.
And it's coming
Yep.
fast?
But, it's been really good though too, is, I could ramble on for time, but the relationships that we have with those municipalities up there is greatly improved too. I mean, the communication, the coordination, all the things that, the number one thing that we heard from the public during the development of the comprehensive plan is that, that leadership, and leadership isn't waiting for the phone to ring. It's for us calling the cities and say, hey, do you got this going on and stuff like that. And even like tonight, I think with the second application and the relationship that we had with T, sometimes you're greatly aware that a lot of times those got, that got denied at the city level and stuff. And then it created kind of an issue with us. But the relationship that we have, the communication, I think is greatly improved. And it shows in the applications. I mean, when you think of the two, this Kurtenbach one, you recall we denied that application a year and a half ago. And it was full, we filled the room full of people with that one. At both yours and at the Board of Commissioners, no one spoke in favor or opposition to that application. And I think that's just a testament not to the neighborhood meeting, but just the communication that we've really improved upon. So.
Good. Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else? Nope. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Oops.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved, properly seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned.